Hi guys, and welcome to this episode of the Happy Knitting Podcast. My name is Julia and I am coming to you as always from the south of Germany, from Munich. Today is Sunday, it's the 27th, I believe, of October 2019, and I am just so happy to be talking to you today about some knitting, some yarn, and just anything related to those things. So if you're a new viewer, welcome to this podcast. I really hope that you'll enjoy it. And if you're coming back, thank you so much for being a regular viewer and follower. So today we have a couple of things to talk about. So I will start with a giveaway, followed by finished objects, works in progress, and then I have quite a lot of acquisitions to show you guys. So I hope that you will enjoy the show, and we will just jump right in. Maybe before we start, two things. First of all, I don't do any show notes, but I do keep pretty good Ravelry project pages, so you're welcome to check those out if you have any questions regarding yarn, needle size, patterns, all of that. I will always have a link for that right underneath this video. And we also have a Ravelry group which you can of course join, and there's always quite a lot of things going on in there. For example, right now we have 2 knit-alongs running. Also, I seem to have the never-ending cold. Like whenever I think it's getting better, I get another cold, and so you can once again probably hear it, and yeah, that's that. Anyhow, let's jump right in with the giveaway that we have. So Christine, who is Sweet Lavender, I think on Instagram and possibly also Ravelry, she has just released her first sock pattern, which is the Downtown Shorties pattern. And she's giving 1 copy away for the podcast. So thanks, Christine. And I have already opened up a thread in the group. A couple of people have already entered, and I decided to just let it run for another week. So please feel free to go over there. Please make sure you're a member of the group, and then just answer the question and you can enter to win. And I will probably just draw the winner and just give the name straight to Christine next weekend. So if you're the winner, you will just receive the pattern in your Ravelry inbox. Yeah, so that's it in terms of giveaway news. And we shall jump in. Because someone will definitely ask, what I am wearing today is the Arata sweater by Jennifer Steingas. I knit this a while ago out of the Highland wool yarn by Isaya. I'm not sure what it's called exactly, but I think they only have one like very light fingering wool yarn, and I quite like it. I didn't love knitting with the yarn because it was quite thin, but I do really enjoy wearing these very sort of light sweaters. I tend to just get the most wear out of them. Like I'll just wear them like a top. And yeah, I'm pretty happy with it. I do wear it quite a lot. It is definitely starting to pill a little bit under the arms and all of that. But all things considered, I do really like it, and I could see myself getting more of that yarn and knitting with it in the future. Except I don't really ever need to buy yarn again because I have a huge stash and I just keep on buying yarn anyways. Anyhow, that out of the way, let's talk about some finished objects. And I'm already feeling my throat getting sore, so that's not a good thing. First up, I finally finished these socks. These are some plain vanilla socks, which I don't have on sock blockers because they are too small for the blockers. These will be for a friend of mine, and they're just plain vanilla top-down socks. So I knit them cuff down, 64 stitches on a US size 1 or a 2.25 millimeter needle, with a garter stitch fish lips Casil. The yarn that I used is this Lana Grossa Meilenweit in the Monte series, I suppose, colorway 1705. So they're done. Very happy to have these finished. Just a very fun sort of self-patterning sock yarn. I didn't make these to match. I just kind of knit them the way that they turned out. And yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say about that. I also finished something. Oh, actually, I was going to say you didn't see this in progress, but I did show this last week. I finished my cashmere hat. Last week I showed this to you as just a bottom ribbing, essentially. And I have since finished the hat. I'm not going to mess up my hair today. It's already kind of messy, so let's not take the risk. But essentially, I just did a very simple knit pearl texture, which you can find in my Ravelry project pages, to make a very sort of slightly textured, stretchy hat. And I just couldn't love it anymore. You can see it's quite a long hat, so I've made it so I can wear it either just like that and it's kind of slouchy, or I can fold up the brim and it's more like a beanie style and it's still long enough to cover my ears, which is always good in a hat. So I mentioned last week, this is a yarn that Kai gave me for Christmas 2 years ago. I did pick it myself. A couple of people complimented Kai on his yarn picking skills, and I did pick it up myself. But this is a yarn from the Uncommon Thread, I think it's called. And this is their, I think, Lush Worsted base, which is a merino cashmere nylon blend. It's super, super soft and fancy, and I love it. I also really love the color. It's coming out a little bit too light. This is more like it. But it's just these beautiful speckles. Like, there are so many tones in this yarn, and I think it played really well with the texture stitch. It's just a really pretty yarn. And on top, I just stuck one of my many pom-poms. These are all fake fur ones that I have. I just ordered a large amount of pom-poms in different colors from some Chinese Amazon seller one day, I don't know, 2 years ago. Please don't ask me where I got them from. They're probably not the fanciest ones, but at least they're not harming any animals. And I'm usually not a big pom-pom person, and I know that fake fur is essentially just buying plastic, so I'm not a huge fan, but this hat just really needed one, and I had some in my stash, so there we are. Yeah, so that's it in terms of my finished objects, and it feels good to finally have some stuff finished because I feel like I haven't been finishing much in the last couple of months. In terms of works in progress, I only have 2 whips to show you today. Not because I don't have any more, I do have plenty more, but you can only knit on so many things. And I feel like I'm at least starting to get things done, which is good. So let's talk about the mystery shawl first. That is the Starflake Shawl Mystery Knit Along by Stephen West. So if you don't want to be spoiled, please skip like 5 minutes ahead. Maybe 4 will be enough, because I will be showing the shawl and I am pretty close to finishing it. The clue only came out 2 days ago, the last clue. So like I said, if you don't want to be spoiled, this is your warning. You may look away now. All right. So this is pretty much a beast. I can't really show it to you, but you guys, I'm on the bind off. Maybe I'll talk about the yarn first. It's somewhere in my shawl. The yarn that I'm using once again for the last time is Malabrigo sock yarn, which is 100% merino yarn. This is the pearl colorway, and the very bright obnoxious pink is the Love of Light or Light of Love colorway. I can never remember. And yes, this looks kind of messy, but I do have a bigger second cake. Anyways, the 4th clue came out and it gave like a larger garter stitch option and a shorter one, and I decided to go for the shorter one because I'm just about done with the shawl. I love it so much, but I'm just finished. So I am on the bind off, and how am I going to show this to you? You will only really see it next week when I will show it to you fully done. But this is kind of it. I'm trying not to drop any stitches, but you can see the shape. It's very massive. It's a very, very graphic and bold design, which I really love. I love these shawls by Stephen that are more graphic and not like a million different colors and speckled. Like, there's just something about this. This is really, really awesome. And I just started the I-cord bind off, which is a 2-color I-cord, and it's kind of annoying to knit. But I think it looks really cool because of the variegation in the yarn. You can see there's like lighter bits and darker bits, and it's kind of fading in and out. And I really thought about ripping back and just doing a colored or single colored bind off, but it does look really, really cool. So I'm just going to keep going with this. And once I finish binding off like 600 plus stitches, this thing will be done, and I'm very, very excited to have this finished. I'll put the shawl away now, so if people join back in, they don't see it. Ooh, I just dropped my skein of yarn behind the couch. That's going to be fun. Anyways, I did really enjoy this knit along. This is my second mystery knit along that I'm doing by Stephen West, that I'm actually knitting as the mystery unfolds. The first one I did was a doodler, which I kind of enjoyed but didn't love the outcome. This one I did really enjoy. I think it was more my style in terms of choosing two bold colors and then just having those two colors contrast each other. I thought the different sections were a lot of fun. It was a lot of knitting. I mean, it's a 4 skein shawl. I only really used 3 skeins up until glue 4, so it's not entirely 4 skeins, but still, it's a lot of yarn you're using and it is a lot of knitting. But I did find it really interesting, like the construction and the different elements were just really fun to do. So yeah, I feel like I prefer to the doodler, and I could see myself doing another one next year, depending on a whole lot of different factors, of course. But all in all, I did really enjoy it. The only thing that I didn't enjoy was the fact that people just don't seem to care about spoiling others anymore. And I know that's partly because Stephen apparently said that you only need to be careful about spoilers in the Ravelry group, and he doesn't require you to use spoiler photos on Instagram. But I still think it's kind of annoying, and that did kind of take the fun out of it for me. But that's just me. It's not a major thing. It's nothing that will make me decide for or against a mystery knit along in the future. But it's just something to keep in mind. All right, the next work in progress that I have to show you was a very, very random cast on. I had a tough week, to be honest. Last weekend wasn't too great. I mean, nothing serious. I'm just trying to be real, and life just isn't always like glamour and butterflies and all of that. Not that my life screams glamour, but you get what I'm saying. And I just wanted to cast on something new and have some fun. So I picked out a yarn from Stash that I bought, I think in early summer, that really just spoke to me, and it was a bit of a splurge, and I decided now was the time to cast it on. And the yarn that I am talking about is this beautiful, beautiful red yarn. Let me guess, I don't have any tags with me? No, of course I don't. This is a beautiful red that is blowing out. Reds are very hard for cameras. But it's this blood red, and it's called Blood Runs Cold. This is the colorway, and it's a yarn by Madeline Tosh. It is Tosh Merino Light. You can kind of get the idea here. So it's a single ply yarn, and that was the reason why originally I wasn't going to buy it, because I don't knit sweaters out of single ply. But this color just really, really, really caught my eye, and I just really wanted to do something with it, and they only had it in single ply. So I decided to just throw all caution in the wind. I know plenty of people knit sweaters out of these soft or single ply yarns. I usually argue against it very strongly, so I'm kind of, yeah, I'm not following my own rules here. If you always knit, I mean, you can do whatever you want, but I am very particular about pilling with sweaters, and I just don't do it usually. But I decided to go with it and just not care. So I threw all caution in the wind. Did a gauge swatch. I have 3 balls of this yarn, 3 balls of Tosh Merino Light, and I just wanted to knit a fun top-down sweater. I wanted to knit all the garments, and it was kind of stressful, so I just wanted a simple, easy, quick knit that I could just knit in the round forever and ever and just enjoy myself. So I cast on a sweater, and this is where we are. I kind of knit half a sweater in 6 days, and again, sorry for the camera, there's just nothing I can do. But this is the extent of it. It's already quite large. I'm halfway down the body at least. And what I wanted to do is I wanted to just knit a top-down sweater. Because I'm worried about this yarn pilling and fuzzing and all of that, which it will do anyways. I tried to knit it on a bit of a tighter gauge than I usually do, so I went down to I think 3.25 millimeter needle. And I just did what I often do, which is I use a pattern just as a basis for numbers and necklines, and then I just do my own thing. So one sweater that I've knit before and really liked, and I do want to knit it again in the original version, I guess, is the Robin sweater, which is by Jose Paca. At least that's how I think it is pronounced. But it's the Robin sweater. It's a top-down fingering weight sweater, possibly DK weight sweater. I'm not sure. It's a top-down sweater with a 23 stitch gauge or 24 stitch gauge. I think 24. And it has really bold stripes. It has kind of batwing shaped sleeves, and it's just a really cool sweater. The first rendition that I knit, I think that was my first ever top-down raglan sweater, and I had kind of funky color choices, so I don't wear it. I think I've given it away. But I did really like how it came out. And I chose this one because it has a bit of a lower neckline, which I wanted. I didn't want a huge neckline, but the other patterns that I was considering was, for example, the Flax Light, and those are very close up, like kind of like this sweater. And I just wanted something that had a bit of a lower neckline. So that's why I chose the Robin sweater cast on for the smallest size, did the neckline, kind of followed the increases for a while, but I did change them up a little bit because I didn't want huge, massive batwing sleeves. A, because I don't want them, and B, because I mean, I have 3 skeins of yarn, so I have plenty of yardage, but yeah, don't want to run out of yarn. I just don't want to be playing yarn chicken, so that's why I'm calling this my modified Robin sweater. And what I did is I had quite a short cable on this needle, so it was hard to try it on, and I was kind of just gauging how long I needed to increase for and just kind of making my own thing and hoping that it works out. So what I did is what I've done before is instead of just putting the sleeve stitches on hold on scrap yarn, I basically used a lifeline. So you can see there's a lifeline going through the entire sweater and also carrying all of my sleeve stitches. So in case I separated for the sleeves, tried it on later, and realized that I needed more stitches on the raglan part, I could just rip back easier and have all my stitches to pick up here. So that's why there's this scraggly line of gray in the sweater. I'm just going to unravel it later, actually probably pretty soon, because I have now tried on the sweater and it fits like a glove. So I'm very, very happy about that. But just as an explanation in case you were wondering. So yeah, that's where we are now. I'm just knitting in the round. Nothing super fancy. I'm still debating whether I want to put some kind of patterning or lace or something on the bottom of the sweater. I really haven't decided yet. But I'm thinking if I just keep it plain and simple stockinette. I mean, it's kind of boring, but boring can be good, and I think this would be very wearable. I'm actually super excited to have a red sweater because I just really miss red in my wardrobe, and I think it would be a good color. So that's where we are with that. Because it is a hand-dyed yarn, I am alternating skeins, so I am always knitting from 2 skeins at a time, using the helical knitting method, which is a little bit annoying, especially because I was carrying this project around while traveling this weekend, but it is doable and it's not a huge hassle. And with this yarn, even though the skeins looked very, very similar, I would have like proper lines if I had not alternated skeins. So the only thing is I haven't decided if I'm going to alternate all the way through the sleeves or whether I will just alternate for a little bit when I pick up for the sleeves and then knit most of the sweater sleeve in one color. I haven't decided yet. But yeah, that's where we are. That's where most of my knitting time went, and I feel like I'm just flying through the sweater. This has been very therapeutic to me and just what I needed. So I'm extremely excited about that. And yes, I know I still have my Ernest cardigan on the needles. I need to get back to that at some point, especially because I really want to wear it. I also still have my hand-spun sweater on the needles, but I'm just thinking about all the sweaters right now, and sometimes you just need to cast on, don't you? So that's it for whips that I'm showing you this week, and I will just move swiftly on to what I have been acquiring, which is quite a lot. So if you're not into like haul type videos, then feel free to just join us again next week, and if you do want to stick around, I'm going to show you some yarn. Where should we start? There's a lot of like gift related, or at least I'm blaming a lot of gift knitting on these purchases. Maybe I should start with Kai, who wants another hat. And you all know my husband Kai, he's like the biggest yarn snob ever. And I knit him a hat 3 years ago out of a merino silk yarn, and he loves it. And that has, of course, been becoming a little bit ratty all over the years because he wears it all the time. So about 2 years ago, I knit him another hat. Again, merino silk yarn, beautiful yarn, held double, knitted just the way he liked it, and he was like, but it doesn't feel the same way as my old hat, and refused to wear it. I mean, I think part of it is that his old hat, because he's just been wearing it so much and it's been washed and all of that, it's just softened up even more over the years, and it's just the perfect hat, and now anything has to compare to that. So long story short, he lost the new hat that I made him. By now doesn't even remember it anymore. But we went back to the discussion of his birthday's coming up, and wouldn't it finally make sense to knit him another hat? And the only thing that we came up with is this one super fancy yarn that he's been in love with for years, ever since feeling it for the first time at Mercerie, which is our local yarn store here in Munich. And I've never bought it because it's freaking expensive. It's beautiful yarn, but it's probably the most expensive yarn I've ever seen. But it's Kai's birthday. So I went back and forth, and he really fell in love with one of the colors, and I was like, fine. If it makes you happy, and if I only get to knit you a hat every 3 years, you may as well get it. So I got him this beautiful skein of the softest yarn ever. This is by Woolfolk. This is Woolfolk Snow, or Snö, I'm not sure how you pronounce it. And if you haven't heard of this yarn company, they have very, very luxurious yarns. This is 100% Ovis 21 Ultimate Merino wool. And it's just the softest thing you have ever felt. Like, this is much softer than the MCN hat that I just showed you. And I think their tint is their normal base, and then their snow base, they marl different colors together. So they have 2 plies. And you can get, like, for this one, for example, it's one strand of they call it green, it's kind of a very bluish green, and one strand of black, and then they marl it together, and that is their snow range. So this is 50 grams, and it should be enough to make him a nice size hat, because with, I don't know, at least for me in this price scheme, I do try to save on buying unnecessary skeins. But it didn't want to travel alone. It really didn't. So I decided if he's getting a super nice hat, I'm getting one too. Yeah, I know. Selfish knitter right here. But so I got another one. I think this one is colorway. Where does it say it? Does it say it anywhere? 14 plus 15. And this one doesn't have a bow band. But it is this burgundy. Oh, you can see it really well paired with the black. So these are just so beautiful, and all the hats that I've seen out of this yarn are just so stunning. And I realized that I may have just started another very, very expensive yarn addiction, because if I like these, I'm totally not going to buy more, because hello, my name is Julia and I'm a yarn addict. But oh well, so these were some fancy purchases, and it's exactly 1 month until Kai's birthday, so I'm going to get knitting on this and make him the perfect hat, because he's already repeatedly told me it needs to be absolutely perfect in terms of the length and the ribbing and all of that. He's so specific, it's a pain. Like with his socks, it's very easy. Knitting him socks is easy as long as it's super soft yarn, he's fine. But with his hats, he is just so picky. So I may be knitting this a couple of times until I get it right, but there we are. So that is my Woolfolk yarn haul, and it's so freaking soft. I mean, yes, I know it's going to pill quite a bit. It's going to be a pilly yarn, but it is utterly gorgeous. The couple of other things that I got. Let's stay on the topic of gift knitting. The other day, which is where all of my bad yarn purchases happen, I was exhausted after a work trip on the train. If I ever buy yarn irresponsibly, it's because I'm completely exhausted on the train. And I've made the mistake recently to follow a couple of online yarn stores on Facebook, which means when you're just scrolling through your phone, then you see their sales and then all things go wrong. So I saw a site that was selling one of the yarns that I really like for like a ridiculous amount of money off. And the yarn that I'm talking about is BC Yarn, Yorkshire. And BC Yarn is one of those yarns that have a lot of organically certified yarns, which I really like. So I really like this brand. I actually have some of this yarn already in my stash, so I know I like it. It's a 100% fingering weight wool yarn. Let's see. I know it's wool. Not sure if it's merino. It may not be. It just says 100% wool. And they were selling these balls for like less than €2. So I was like, might as well stock up. And they only had a couple of colors, but I know that one, possibly two of my sisters, both of my sisters, I should say, want green sweaters. So I figured I might as well just stock up on green yarn, and then when they want their sweaters, I can just knit them. So I got one sweater's quantity of this dark green, which is colorway 12, and one sweater's quantity of this one, which doesn't have a colorway name. That's funny. It's literally just empty here. But it's a light green. So I got these two and I showed the photo to my sister, and she was like, I don't like any of these greens. So maybe I would just knit a lot of green sweaters for myself. I don't know. But this was definitely a good purchase. Super affordable. I love these rustic yarns, as you know. This is presumably non-superwash. It feels like a non-superwash yarn. It's kind of rustic, but still soft enough, so I could definitely use this for gifts. This would be good for color work, and yeah, no regrets. Also, like color work mittens in this combination would be awesome, wouldn't they? And I bought a lot of those balls because if it's only like no money, I might as well get an extra ball. So maybe I will knit myself some mittens with this as well. Who knows? All right, and moving on because someone just can't stop buying yarn. This yarn has been with me for a while. The other day I was looking for the Darnie yarn, which I showed you last week, and I stumbled across a company called Great British Yarns, and they also, ironically, sell KnitPicks, and KnitPicks is of course not British, but it's very hard to get a hold of. So I think for you guys in the States, KnitPicks is like totally not fancy and kind of like a cheap yarn. But I really like it, and it's very hard to get in Europe. So I was just really happy to find some of the yarn, and yeah, so I got some. So the yarn that I've wanted to try from KnitPicks for a long time is KnitPicks Palette, which is a non-superwash fingering weight wool, and they have it in like a million colors. You guys are so lucky. I feel like so many people are kind of yeah, I mean, I don't want to say devaluing it, but it always no one seems to be very interested in this yarn, even though it seems really awesome. Like, it's non-superwash, it's affordable, they have a ton of colors, and they look really pretty. So I got myself some. I got a couple of balls, actually like a sweater quantity of this colorway, which is Iris Heather. And can I just say that I really like it, that this is one of the very few commercial yarn companies that give proper names to their colorways. And I love their heather colorways. Like, just look at these colors in one skein. I think that's really awesome. It's kind of a random color. It almost passes for gray from a distance, but I really like it. And then I got a couple of single balls because I thought I might do some kind of colorwork cowl. So I got 4 different colors. One was actually exchanged because apparently they didn't have the color that I ordered in stock, so they gave me this one instead. But I just thought they look fun together. Again, I bought this on the underground after a late work dinner. Do you sense a pattern? I do. So I got these to do some colorwork stuff, but I'm actually thinking like in a colorwork sweater with this, that could be really cool too. So I'm not quite sure what I do with these colors, but they do go so well together, don't they? And they're like such a fall colorway palette. There's quite a lot of heathered colorways in here. I really like them. So this one is Merlot Heather, which is the one that I didn't order, but I do quite like it. This one has so many colors in it. This is Bouquet Heather, and that's a really funky color. It's very gold brownish in some lights, and then it's like pinkish on another light. This one, of course, I had to get Brass Heather because I love anything that is like mustardy. And this one is Hair Heather. It's also just really pretty. I tried for a long time whether to get this as the sweater quantity or this. Not sure if I made the right choice, but these are very, very fun, and I'm just so happy to have some KnitPicks palette in my life. So yeah, that was quite a lot of acquisitions, but no regrets. And yeah, that's pretty much it for the yarny content of this show. We're at 31 minutes. I think we're doing pretty well. So, in terms of what's been happening in life, it's just been busy. Mostly busy. Mostly I've just been overworked, which hasn't been fun. So I'm trying to solve that and get to a place where I have less work and more just like relaxing time as well. It doesn't help that I've just been apparently dragging on from one cold to the next. Don't worry about me. I'm absolutely fine. But yeah, it's kind of been killing off my knitting mojo a little bit. But next week is only a 4-day work week, which is great. And also Kai will be in the UK for 3 of those days. So I was like, well, I can have a knitcation. Well, really, I'm going to have a workcation. But at least when I'm not working, I can just be a full-time knitter. So that's good. This weekend has been pretty busy because we drove back to my parents' and family's town because it was my grandma's 80th birthday. So we had like a day basically spent just eating and drinking and eating more and drinking more and eating a ton more. But it was pretty fun. Today we just drove back to Munich. It's a beautiful, beautiful fall day. It's not even like fall weather. I mean, all the leaves, everything is just like on the ground. It's beautiful colors, but we have like 22 degrees today. But that's supposed to change very, very soon, so I better get knitting. So yeah, that's basically what's been happening. I've been kind of quiet on Instagram and all of those places because that's kind of the first thing that goes for me when I'm stressed out. But I will be back with a bang, and like I said, I'm just very excited for a 3-day weekend next weekend, and I have nothing planned. We're not going away, we're not doing anything except relax, which will be great. So yeah, I think that's all I have for you today. Thank you so much for watching this podcast. Thank you for sticking with me through times when I don't knit so much, through times when I overbuy on yarn, which, I mean, that's fun, right? I don't know about you. I always enjoy seeing other people's yarns. I'm just so happy to have a hobby and a passion that like brings us so much joy, and yeah. So with that, I think I'm just going to let you guys go. I hope you guys had a great weekend. Have a lovely rest of Sunday. Have a good week, and I will see you again very soon. Until I see you again, happy knitting. Thank you for watching. Bye.